other day I was down here at the altar and I was praying for a beautiful young woman. She was telling me what she was concerned about and what she wanted me to pray for. And then she looked right at me and she said, I feel unnoticed by God. I feel like God doesn't even care about what's going on with me. You know, I believe that sometimes we can all feel that way. We get struggling with something so long in our life, we wonder, God, where are you? Do you even see what's going on in my life? Do you even care? Sometimes we're in a room like this, and we feel like just one person in the crowd. God, how do you find me in the midst of all these people? But can I tell you today, God's eyes are on you. I want to be the one that reminds you God sees you. The Bible says that He knew you before the foundation of the world, that He handpicked you. See, He knows every single hair on your head. Now that blows my mind, but God is God. And if He said it, I believe it, no matter what I feel like. Even if I feel alone in a crowded room, I'm going to stand on the word that God says He knew me. He knows my down sitting. He knows my uprising. The Bible says He knows my thoughts from afar. I don't even have to speak anything, and God already knows me. You see, God knows you today. But if we're going to overcome those crushing feelings of feeling alone, feeling uncared for, we're going to have to stir up our faith. We're going to have to remind ourselves every day, God does know me. He does care for me. And me and God, we're a majority. We can do anything but fail. See, with God, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Whatever you're facing, it's possible if you take hold of God. Luke chapter 13:1. Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on this Sabbath day. There was people all around. It was crowded. And He began to teach them. And in the middle of His teaching, He stopped. He stopped because He took notice of a woman that was in the crowd. You see, the woman that was in this crowd, she wasn't dressed beautifully. She didn't walk in late, and that's why He noticed her. The woman that was in this crowd, the Bible says, was crippled. In fact, she was bent over like a horseshoe. It said she couldn't even straighten up. Luke describes her as a woman that was afflicted with a spirit of infirmity. Now, we don't know what that infirmity was, but it was something that had bound her up. We don't know what had happened in her life, why her body was so weak and so frail. But she was in the synagogue that day, bent over low. Now, if I asked you to stand up right now, and I said, hey, let's bend over, you would go, Victoria, quit being so silly. You'd probably laugh a little bit. You'd be there. But if you were bent over for 18 years, it wouldn't be so funny. You see, the Bible says she was bent over for 18 long years. You see, I'm sure there were people standing and there were people sitting. The most amazing thing to me that day was that Jesus noticed her. See, He fixed His eyes on her that day. I'm sure when she came in, she didn't feel like anybody knew who she was. She felt very unnoticed. But the good news is, Jesus saw her, and He knew all about her. In fact, He immediately called that woman forward. He stopped everything that He was doing, and He called her forward. Can you imagine that sweet little woman? I don't know how old she was, but she was bent over, so she just appears to me like she'd have felt pretty frail and old. She might not have been. We just know she had it for 18 years. But she began moving slowly towards Jesus. And He spoke this word to her. He said, woman, you are free from your infirmity today. You're free. I mean, she was shuffling and she heard those words, I'm free from my infirmity today. Then he touched her. And the Bible said she immediately stood up. She hadn't stood up for 18 years. This woman had been looking at the ground. All she had seen was the dust of the ground and people's feet. She didn't even see their faces. She didn't even see Jesus that day. But when he said, you are loosed from what is binding you, and he touched her and she stood up, can you imagine the first face she had seen in this upright position was the face of God? It was the face of Jesus. You see, she felt like no one saw her. She had an identity of being crippled, but Jesus saw her as a daughter of Abraham. You see, he didn't see a crippled woman when everyone else did. He saw a daughter of promise, and he set her free that day. Now, I was thinking about this. She'd been crippled for 18 years. She'd been looking down at the ground. I wonder how long it took her to realize that she was set free, that she wasn't crippled anymore. I mean, she was standing up straight, but you know, when you've been a certain way for so long, it's hard to believe you can be another way. It's kind of like an attitude. When that attitude's had you for you've had this attitude for so long, somehow that attitude has you. I wonder how